Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. And we are very excited because it's always wonderful when we can talk about a tactic or a strategy and then actually have a financial advisor join us who has used this strategy and had great results from it. So today we're going to be talking all about SEO, search engine optimization, for those of you who may not realize what that means. And we are really excited to not really spend a ton of time just focusing on slides, but actually going into the back end of the website, showing you things on Google search, showing you things in Google Search Console, so that you can see where you can find all this great information on your own website and how you can use it to your benefit. Just a few housekeeping items before we get started. As always, we record this and send you the slides afterwards. So if you've ever attended one of these sessions before, you know you don't need to take copious amounts of notes on what's on the slides because they will be sent to you. And also, if you have any questions, the Q&A box is where you can send the questions that just myself and Mark, our guest, and Amanda Larson, who's in the background helping to moderate, we will see them. If you want to add to the conversation or ask something for everyone to see, that's where you want to go ahead and put that in the chat, and we can all be helpful to each other. So to kick us off, I would love to know, and we'd love to see you put into the chat, what is the, one of the top things that you are maybe struggling with SEO? Is it just like this big, huge thing that you don't know anything about and it feels intimidating? Are you trying to figure out how to rank better locally within a certain area? Are you a complete newbie, so you don't even know what you don't know? Tell us what it is you're thinking about when it comes to search engine optimization and your own website. So Jade said she's new, so she's just starting to learn. Welcome, Jade. Glad to have you. Brittany's also new to SEO. Rolf is a total newbie. Doug says how to get started. Bam, not a clue. I love that. Got lots of honesty here. John Crosby says, no idea, phone a friend. I love that one. So we have a lot of newbies here. This is wonderful because we love to know where everybody is starting out and kind of the benchmark of our audience today so that we can really tailor what we talk about to your starting level of knowledge. So it's good to hear that people are telling us where they're starting out, and some good questions already. What's more effective, search engine optimization or using social media? We can talk about that too. All right, so great. Keep it coming. Specific questions that you have that you want us to dive in. And we left a lot of time in today's talk for just really open-ended Q&A. So if Mark says something and you're like, ooh, I want to know more about that, Mark, let's elaborate. Tell us. We really want you to, let us know what questions that you have. All right. So without further ado, let's introduce our esteemed guest, Marc Westlake. So Mark comes to us over from the other side of the pond over in Ireland, and he is the managing director of Global Wealth. And he has been working with 20 over 10 on his website. And just in the last 3 months has had really, really great results of how his site has been ranking for specific keywords. And he's going to talk to us more about that strategy. But Mark, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Sam. So do you want me to give an introduction to myself?
Oh, yeah. If you want to just tell us a little bit about maybe your firm and how long you've been an advisor, how long you've had Global Wealth for.
Yeah, very good. So I started in financial services in probably about 1992. So tell how old I am. Working in a bank in the United Kingdom, and I moved to Ireland from the UK in about 2008. So 15 years as an advisor in the UK and about just under the same in Ireland. Global Wealth is exactly as it sounds. We specialize in providing advice to foreign nationals living in the Republic of Ireland. One of the things I did early doors when we set up the business was I did the consulting course with John Byrne in San Francisco from CEG. And one of the things he's very strong on is find your niche, find what you're good at. And I looked in the mirror one day and thought, well, I'm a foreigner in a foreign land. Maybe that should be what I focus on. So that's very much where I've built the business from is people moving from the US and the UK into Ireland. And if you think about, just US multinationals, Google, Facebook, they're all here. We picked up the account for Facebook in Ireland. So, we're punching well above our weight for the size of our business, just on the strength of having a very, very narrow niche.
Congratulations. Yeah, it's always amazing how when you niche down so specifically, you get referrals, sometimes really big ones, which is great. So thank you again for joining us. Here's all of the ways you can all connect with Marc, and I'm going to show his website off here in just a minute. But can you also let everybody know how about how long have you had the Global Wealth website? So they'll give them some background for thinking about what kinds of results you're seeing now.
Yes, that's a good question. So, I mean, we were part of another business from 2008 to about 2016. We left for musical differences, as they say, and set up a new business in 2016. We had our own website, which 3 or 4 of us had worked on, as most financial advisors would do. We thought we'd done a fairly good job. We had a marketing guy here look at it and said he thought it was very good. And it just wasn't really performing very well. That website was taken down and went to the 20 over 10 website in May of last year. So we've been 13 months for 20 over 10, and you'll see the data, you see the graphs and the impact that just making a few small changes to the way we position ourselves in the market have had very, very dramatic impact on our business, to the extent that we actually had to acquire another business to cope with the volume of inquiries we were getting. So we can talk about that.
So 13 months, everyone. We're going to show you the results that we've seen in that time. Oopsie daisy. Stop sharing there for a second. Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Samantha Russell, and I am the chief evangelist at 20 over 10 and FMG Suite. If you were not aware, FMG acquired 20 over 10 at the end of last year. And really my role, many of you have joined these before, is to come and talk with you all about what strategies and tactics are really working best for advisors when it comes to marketing their business. And especially right now in 2021, we've seen so much change. So we're really looking at where's the puck headed in the next few years. All right. So with that said, I think Amanda also has shared our LinkedIn pages in the chat. Please click on them, connect with us. Then you can ask any follow-up questions that you don't get to ask here live. All right. So let me go back here and share my screen one more time. All right. So Marc, you shared a little bit about this story that you were an advisor for a while, obviously before 13 months ago. Can you tell us a little bit about, so, it says here on the screen that you currently have 50 clients and you recently even acquired another business. Can you just shed a little bit more light on, the current makeup and how you're servicing those clients?
Yeah. So again, it's back to the CEG, John Bowen kind of course that I did. It was a 12-month consulting course, and the whole business was built around creating a world-class wealth management business. And if you haven't looked at Bowen's CEG website, I'd encourage you to do so, because it's extremely good. And he said, look, you want to deal with people with more than $1 million, and you want to be charging $10,000 a year in AUM fees. That's his definition of a world-class wealth management business. Now, I just did the numbers this morning. Our average AUM is $1.5 million, and our average fee is $10,000 a year. So it took us a long time to get there, but we've got there. And so we have 50 clients. Our assets under management is north of $50 million. We have a very, very specialized, as I say, it's very focused on that flow of foreign nationals coming into the Republic of Ireland model. But we get a lot of inquiries of what you might consider to be unqualified prospects. And rather than just throw them back to the indigenous financial advisors, we thought, we could probably do something here. So we acquired another business in May last year, a business called Ethical Financial. The clue's in the name. It was set up in Ireland in 1997. They have more than 1,200 clients. Very, very specialist niche advisor in the ESG space. They've been doing sustainable investments for the last 20 or 30 years in Ireland. And it's just funny that that's become very thematic across the world in the last while. So we thought, what a good mix, what a good match. They're focused on younger clients. The average age of the advisors in that firm is 35. So we've got a good, run in of the millennial market. And we're seeing a kind of a shift away from the AUM model that I have with the global wealth business, and we're looking at introducing a subscription model, around about 50 bucks a month as a kind of retainer fee, and providing good, fee-based fiduciary advice to younger clients. That's completely doesn't exist in Ireland. I mean, the reason we got the Facebook account was because the outplacement firm that was looking for a fiduciary advisor in Ireland, there aren't any. I mean, literally, there are commissions out the, the market's just the Wild West. So
Kind of where we were years ago.
20, 25 years ago. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. So, if you want an easy life, just stop competing in America and just move to Ireland. You clean up.
So, you talked about the referral, like, acquiring this other business to refer, because you were having to refer out business that you couldn't do, right? And there's obviously this, there's a big conversation happening right now in the US because there's a lot of people that want to attract younger clients, but if you're charging a percentage of AUM and they don't have that many assets, it's not always worthwhile. Did you explore any other types of fee structures? Like is the fee type, whether it's subscription or just a set fee, something that you have the ability to do there, or is that something people are looking for? Or
So there's two points there. I mean, the first one is we've always provided pro bono advice to the children of our wealth management clients up to age 30. So we've always taken that view that we didn't want to provide advice for one generation and then watch the assets go out the door when the parents died. So we've always said, if you're the children of our clients, will provide pro bono advice. But what we then stumbled upon almost by accident was this idea that if you're attracting younger clients in their 30s and you're doing a subscription model, why not offer to cancel that if the younger client refers their parents to you? So essentially reversing that model as essentially a lead generation approach. And that's going down quite well with the younger clients, because they're saying, well, I don't need to think about estate planning because I don't have an estate. My children are 3, 4, 5 years of age. I don't need to think about these things. And we're saying, well, but your parents do. So can we have a chat with them? And we're finding that that's working as a kind of as a reverse engineered way of getting back to the wealth management business that we started from, by offering our services effectively for free to younger clients as a way of attracting the wealthy parents. Because we all know that younger people have mortgages, older people have savings. So you want the older people in an AUM model, and you want the younger people on some kind of regular savings subscription model. That's one aspect. And the other thing we did, which we found worked very well, is digital publishing. So, using a magazine publishing site to create content, and then you can subscribe a subscription to that, or you can charge $1 fee for the actual publication. And it's a way of providing free content, or some free content and some paid for content. And we find that's working very well as well.
So one of the things that you had said when we were prepping for today's conversation, and the reason I asked about that was, this whole idea of attracting the younger generation through this sort of digital funnel. And then once they're there, talking with them about what kinds of needs do their parents have. And the reason that I think this is so genius is a lot of the people that we will talk with about digital marketing will say things like, well, a 60-year-old person isn't going to use Google and Facebook and all that to find businesses the same way that a younger person would. And that's definitely a stereotype and not true across the board. And we're seeing that change more and more. People, they go to Google and they look up the hotel they're going to stay in on family,
absolutely,
the plumber that they're going to hire. And they look like they do that as well for an advisor. But I do understand. But I think that, obviously younger generations are more comfortable with soup to nuts, that entire buyer's journey being digital. And so, if you're putting out content and you're using digital marketing to attract people, a bigger portion of the people you attract from digital is often going to be younger. And so I think that that's really telling, that you were able to then tap into that. So you said it's so far, I don't know how long you've been trying it out, has been successful in at least getting those conversations started.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, a big part of estate planning is moving money from one generation to another. And obviously, the sooner you do that, the better. If you're the younger person, I'm Father Christmas because I'm giving them money. I'm actually making it okay to go to their parents and say, can you write off my student loan? Can you write off my mortgage? Because it's good, intergenerational tax planning to start thinking about making those gifts sooner rather than later. And it's easier for us to go and talk to the parents about that sort of stuff than it is for the child, because the child looks a bit, to be honest, quite grasping if they start raising the question about, estate planning. So we do find it's a nice way of introducing, which is, it's potentially a difficult conversation to have around the Christmas table, right? Most of us don't want to talk about money at Christmas, so it just doesn't get talked about. So it's very easy for us to be that kind of relationship between the two generations and talk about, having a joined up plan as a family. And then you start thinking, well, does that sound like a bit like a family office? Well, it really is. It's a very light version of a family office. You don't need billions to run a family office.
Right. Actually, so while we were talking, what I wanted to just share really quickly here, if I can get my There we go. So I just wanted to give everybody a sense of what your website as it looks today looks like, and just sort of walk everybody through before we get into kind of some of the keywords and language that's on there. When you were working with 20 over 10 to create this, I think one of the things that's really interesting is that you have the Republic of Ireland's only chartered financial planners. And then you talk about the different advice that you plan or that you include. And then you go in and you have all the different copy. Did you come to the website creation process with an idea of which, I lost my video camera, which keywords that you wanted to rank for? Like, was that already something you were considering?
No, we were very happy to start from scratch with you guys working with us to come up with copy and keywords that would be more powerful, because I think the mistake that most financial advisors make is that they know their subject really well. Most of us are very technically quite competent. We've learned the craft of being, a certified financial planner professional. We know there's nothing you can't tell me about financial planning. And it's a bit like sitting down, I don't know, on a first date or something and saying, shh, listen, I want to talk about me. Right? That's what most financial advisors' websites read like to me. It's like, you're not going to get anywhere, right? You need to listen. So what we try to build a website around is Samantha's very good at talking about, sort of problem solution framework. So what's the problem that the client has? What is it that they're looking for from a financial advisor, and what's the solution we can give? So you should never have your solution front and center. You should have things that differentiate you, because to most consumers or most clients, we're just a bunch of people, typically in a suit, typically male, typically in our mid-50s. That's financial services the world over. So it's very hard to differentiate yourself in the market. So I think it's really important to pull on those key differences. And as I say, in Ireland, everybody's paid commissions. So we just said, let's not do that. Let's be different. And we've been consciously different in very key points. And it really does work because you stand out from the crowd.
I love that. Okay, so we're going to come back to some of the posts on the blog, but let's just look at some of the numbers of what has happened. So we pulled some data from your analytics and Google Search Console, which we're going to show everybody how to do this in a little bit. But you can look at the bottom row is 2020 and the top row is 2021. So if we look at total clicks for the year, and remember, obviously 2021 is still happening where this is going to keep changing, but you can see here 239 when we were looking at the last 3 months of 2020 and almost 4,000 in 2021. Just a staggering difference. Total impressions. What this means is if somebody is doing a search, is your website one of the options in the list of results? So it doesn't mean that they click on you. It just means your site is being shown. And so you can see impressions went up by hundreds of thousands of impressions. The average click-through rate. So of all of the times your site is shown, how many times do people actually click on it from Google, right? And so you can see that average click-through rate went up significantly. And if you hit like a 2% click-through rate, that's incredible of all of the options out there, Google, and you guys are actually really close to it. And then your average position. So if you Google, best burger in Dublin, are you number 1? Are you number 2? Are you number 6? Their average position for all the search terms that they're showing for went from 47.5 to 35.8. Now that to you might think, well, that's not even the first page of Google, but remember, it's taking the average, right? So if we were to look at certain keywords, they're ranking really well, which we're going to show you here in just a second. So I just wanted to pull back for a second because we do have so many newbies, which I knew was going to happen on the call today, and just give you a little bit of intel about how Google actually works today in 2021. So if you were to open up Google right now, and you guys can do this guys and gals can do this while you're listening, and search something, right? Financial advisor, Orlando, Florida, like I did, you are going to get, millions of results. And usually at the top of the page, you're going to get a couple ads. And below that, especially if it's a local search, you're going to have a map with a few different locations on that map. And below those locations that are listed, so Allgen, Financial Advisor, Stonebridge, what have you, are going to be listed there. And then you'll have the option to click to their website directly or get directions. This is called the Google Local 3-pack. And for local search, this is crucial. You want to be in this local pack because it's really highlighting these businesses and making them much more prominent, right? But then if we kept scrolling down on this page, we're going to get even more results. Now, a lot of people will ask me about Google Ads. The paid listings get less than 10% of all clicks. So for most of you, the vast majority of you, paying to get an ad on this page is not going to be the best use of your money. We can get more into that if you have more questions, but there's so many other really big firms that have whole teams of people that do nothing but optimize these Google ads to get those clicks, that compete nationwide. As you can see, Edelman Financial Engines, Dave Ramsey, right? That it's going to be really hard for you to compete with them. And so I would rather you spend your money on different things you can do organically to get that share of the traffic, because as you see here, that the number one organic result is going to get 33% of all clicks, and less than 6% of people are going to advance to page 2. So think about your own Googling behavior. You read the options that are on that first page, and then you usually find something or alter your search if it's not relevant to you. So the algorithm and what Google considers when they're determining how to rank somebody in 2021 is very complicated. But we can make it less complicated by distilling it down into just a few key things that make up the bulk of the ranking factors. So there's actually over 200 different ranking factors that Google uses, and nobody but the people that are at Google and Google themselves know for sure. This is all things that have been deduced by SEO experts and marketers over the years. But a really big portion of it, you can see here, 26%, this is from First Page Sage, is just the consistent publication of engaging content, right? That's the biggest bucket that we have. And for all of you that are in this industry, Google takes special care of the worlds of health and finance. They call those areas your money. Well, the finance part is your money, your life. And they're really, really particular about what they show. And they want the content to be of a very high quality, because they know people will read this stuff and make choices about their financial lives based upon what they read on the internet. So they are going to look for very high quality content. The second biggest is keywords in the meta title tags, which we will show you how to do that. If you are using our platform 20/10, or if you're using another platform, you should have the ability or work with your web developer to be able to edit this. And this is really, really crucial. And then the third biggest bucket is backlinks. So what this means is, Mark being here today, he's going to get a backlink from 20/10's website while we were promoting this, saying, oh, we're having this event with Marc Westlake, and it's going to have a link to his website from our website. And because we specialize in marketing in financial services, that's a good backlink for him to get. If he got quoted in CNBC or the Wall Street Journal or some publication that's a financial publication in Ireland, that's a great backlink. So the more links you can get from what we call high domain authority, right? Getting a backlink from the local restaurant that's around the corner from where he lives, that's nice. It's a backlink, but it's not going to be as powerful as getting one from the Wall Street Journal, right? So the more backlinks you can get from other websites that are within the area of expertise you are in, the better. And then the last big one I just wanted to show was niche expertise, which Mark already sort of touched on, but the more specific you can get on a topic, the more high quality, in-depth content you can provide on that topic, the higher Google will see your site as being very high quality and filled with information. So I don't know if anything I just said sparked anything, Mark, that you'd want to elaborate on, but love to hear your thoughts.
Yes, I mean, the consistent publication, I think consistency is good. I mean, very, very frequent posting on social media is definitely something we've done differently in the last year, and obviously it's paying dividends. Engaging content, and I think again, to use the example that we kind of use it as our probably our best example is, if you think as a financial advisor, you type in the words that are in your head that relate to your profession. So you put in things like wealth management and fiduciary, and that's not how people talk in a restaurant. Okay, people don't use those words. So what you need to do is get in head of the client you want to attract. So the way I did that was I said, well, wealth management Dublin, and then Google suggests search terms that people are using that are close to that, so people also ask. So what did I do? I took the first one. I said, how much does a financial advisor cost in Ireland? And I wrote a blog post called how much does a financial advisor cost in Ireland? And it's funny, but it amazingly became our most popular link because it's the one thing that people are actually looking for. And Google's telling you this. It's actually for free. It's telling you exactly what you need to write. If you lose those, people also ask. And it's just the same as the way Amazon's working. It's like, oh, you like this movie. Maybe you'd like to buy this one. It's the same with Apple. It's the same with Netflix. They're suggesting things based on your previous pattern. So if you can get inside the head of the consumer, then you can start writing content which is literally speaking to them.
I love that tip. So those of you, watching, right, I just took that, typed it in, and we can see Global Wealth. There's your website right there showing up. And you can see also below it what people also ask, what other options. And if you click on these, is it worth paying for a financial advisor? They'll keep giving you more and more people also asks below it that you can create content around. You can also search to the bottom if it's sort of starting to go off kilter and look at other related searches. So I know some of the people listening are going to have the question, well, is that giving you the type of client that you actually want? Coming into your funnel, right? So talk to us a little bit about that. I don't know if you've done any research on your own of the correlation between the type of people clicking on that blog and then them reaching out to you. Do you find that, you have so much business and it's not worthwhile, all of these prospects, because they're not the right kind of prospects? How do you manage that?
So if you go to our website again, I mean, like one of the sections we have very prominently is costs. And we've done that consciously because most financial advisors hide their costs. So again, we said, well, what's the most different thing that we can do? And we're not like insane. Like we're not going to just start, like wearing crazy sort of outfits and being mad. Like, you need to keep it sort of sensible. But if financial advisors are hiding their costs, not hiding your costs is a very, very clear point of tangency. So what we're very clear on is, we think there's a value associated with what we do. It's not all about price. There's a lovely quote there from John Ruskin, which makes that exact point. So we like literary references. There's probably bits of Mark Twain all over my website if you dig hard enough. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it very, very clear that we don't work with everybody, but we're very, very clear about what it costs to work with us. So if people are searching for cost and we get to a point where they start saying, well, this looks quite pricey, we've amended our pricing just in the last few months where there's a section now for, look, if you're just looking for some, fee-based financial planning advice and you're not looking for a wealth management service, we can now facilitate that for you. And that's what our other business does. So we've reverse engineered into our process a something like what we call a gate out option, which is these people aren't really suitable for wealth management, but maybe we want them as clients. And we have a lot of clients working for Google, working for Amazon in Ireland, and they're on very, very good salaries. They're very, very well paid. They're not wealthy per se at the moment, but they absolutely will be in a few years.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's great about this cost page is one of the things we always tell people that your website should be able to do is allow people to self-qualify without ever even having to meet with you.
Yep.
Can they tell from your website whether or not they can afford you, they're a good fit for you, they're the type of client that you want to work with, and it saves everybody the hassle and the heartache.
Yeah. And if you look what's on the screen, we're lowballing him, and it's $200. My car costs more to service than that. Yeah, these aren't expensive fees by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. No, and I think though to your point, kind of being able to have two programs in place, which is becoming more popular. I've seen more firms doing it.
Yeah.
Our clients up to 300,000 in AUM, you're on a subscription model.
Yep.
And once you hit 300,000 in AUM, we switch you over to an AUM fee. And then this is what happens. But that way you're not attracting this wide net that you then have to throw up. I don't say throw all the fish out, but you get the analogy, it's you want to have something in place if you are starting to get a lot more traction of where to put those people.
Exactly.
Okay. So do you have a way currently, this is a great question, to know how many people that come in from that blog post actually are booking a meeting? Is that something that you're tracking? Are you asking people or what's that look like?
So again, I mean, the key difference we've found that's worked better than anything else, in probably my career has been putting a scheduling tool straight onto the website. So, again, we're giving people the option to book an appointment straight into my diary. We have introduced some random pricing, or not random pricing, but certainly surge pricing with links to PayPal. So some of the links will basically say, look, do you want this meeting in the future or do you want it now? If you want it now, you have to pay up front. If you're willing to wait, I'm willing to waive the upfront fee. So we've been able to use a bit of dynamic pricing in that as well. And we're testing this. I mean, most of this is beta versions. I mean, I don't pretend to have the answers to all this, but you do find if people are time poor, they're willing to pay a little bit more in order to get something done. And that's good for us as a business. I mean, if they want to, the finite resource here is our time, right? So if people are willing to pay a little bit more in order to jump the queue, well, grand, let them at it. So that calendar scheduling link directly on the website, absolute slam dunk. Do it every time, even if you don't have anything else on your website apart from that.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And one of our biggest studies has found that one of the key differentiators between people getting a high number of meetings from straight search engine queries was a meeting scheduler that didn't ask for too many pieces of information, name, email. You can set up your process through Calendly or whatever you're using, that once they've scheduled the meeting, you can send a follow-up email that asks a series of questions if you want. But getting them to commit to the date and time and get on their calendar is the main purpose. So don't make it too difficult by adding in all of these questions and form fields, because that will make people abandon. We got a couple questions that I just want to address before we move on to this next section. Scott asked, do backlinks from emails that we send out count? And yes, they can, especially if they're coming like from a partner. If you did a webinar with a local CPA or attorney and they send it out, that is great. Another question was, what about backlinks from social media posts? And yes, that as well does impact. So again, they're not going to be as powerful as a link from a major financial publication, but they will help. So I think that's actually a good segue to Mark. If you just want to talk a little bit about the local Ireland specific website that you will answer questions on and how that has impacted.
Yes, there's good ways of getting in front of prospective clients. I mean, everybody knows the one about the media. We all want to be, Michael Kitces. We all want to have that high profile media presence that enables us to be sort of, that recognized expert. It's a lot of work, So I like to shortcut these things as much as possible. So one of the first things we did was, one of our clients was a personal finance editor for the Irish Times, which really helps. It's like saying I've got the personal finance editor for the Wall Street Journal. It's right. About as good as you're ever going to get. That really helped. But there's the bulletin boards. A lot of sort of helping sites have come up which are designed to help people sort of work in communities to try and solve common problems. And there are finance websites all over the place where people go on and do bulletin board questions. Does anybody know how about, if I'm moving from the US to Ireland, where do I go? There are quite a few of those. And there's a very, very well-established one in Ireland called Ask About Money. And it has a very strict no advertising policy. It's, it's very, very true to its belief of, the idea is that there's a community of people that work together to help, pool answers. And if somebody's got a question, the community will help answer that question. And I said one day, I said, look, I've got a long answer here on my website, and I just posted a link. And the guy that set up the website is happy to support financial professionals who are answering the questions, because we're providing a service. We're providing a service for free, and it's not unreasonable for us to be able to provide a link back to our website or a signature block in the answer. So I spend a decent amount of my time on there. I've probably posted several thousand posts over the years on this website. And it's a great source, because what we're finding here is about a third of our referrals onto the website come from here. If you look at the number of people that have read on these threads, 1,500 people, messages, 18,000, 32,000 messages. There's a lot of traffic on this website. So it's a very, very valuable source of consumers asking questions about money. It's just follow the logic. I can't think of a better way of driving traffic onto a website than something like this.
And there's definitely advisors that I've worked with in the past that have used, for those of you in the US, Quora or even Reddit in different channels.
Reddit works, yep.
The main thing is, if you're going to do this and you're going to post a backlink, you need to have a really great blog post that goes deep into whatever topic is at hand, so that it is educational and it isn't just an ad, right? So somebody's asking
don't try and be an expert on everything. Right. Pick 3 or 4 subjects that you have an above average knowledge of, and only post on those subjects, and make sure they're directly linked to your niche.
Yes, exactly. So I just want to pull up the Global Wealth blog here, and you can see all different kinds of content that they have. If somebody's asking a question, basically what the strategy is, you answer it in a pretty good amount of detail on the site, but then you say, I actually have even go into much greater detail. I wrote a blog post about this on, our financial planning firm site. Here it is, and you link to it. And not everybody's going to click over, but people who are highly interested will.
So there's a classic one in the middle there. When the cheapest option isn't always the best. I mean, what's that about? And like you can see in the text at the bottom, it's a classic US Vanguard versus dimensional fund advisors debate, right? That's exactly what that post's about. So any one of you could write this because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes. I love this strategy. It's a really, really great idea. Okay. I see some more questions getting in. I want to go through this next section. So I have time to show you on the back end how to do it. And then I promise we'll answer some more of these questions. So remember I said one of the top ranking factors after just creating great content, the top on-page ranking factor, number one, is title tags. So title tags, I'm going to show you where you can find them and what they do. But again, they are an incredibly important ranking factor. And each page of your website should have a unique title tag. You want them to be about 50 to 60 characters long. And the formula that we want to use is primary keyword, secondary keyword, company name, right? So you can see here, browser page title. Oh, and by the way, if you're a 20 over 10 customer, we automatically add your company name at the end of each page, so you don't have to re-add it. So you can see here, Dublin, Ireland, financial advisor, right? The primary keyword being the location, the secondary keyword being financial advisor. And you can see different variations here from the Google Search Console data we pulled for Marc's website. So the average position, if someone searched financial advisor Dublin in 2020, Marc's website was 7.8 on the Google search. Now, 2021, it is the third position on average. Somebody searched financial advisor Ireland, it was 4.7. And in 2021, 2.2. So also, I do think this speaks a little bit to maybe not being as competitive, not as many people around you using, SEO in general, but the same principles apply. And if you live in a big city like Dallas, instead of saying Dallas, choose more of like a suburb or a local area that you can be more competitive with the keyword that you want to choose location based, right? Yeah. And then you could see a variation. So wealth management, which is a different keyword, Dublin, and then how that looks. So let me just, again, because I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. Let me pull up Google here. And so again, if we search wealth management Dublin, these page title tags are this blue writing that turns purple when you click on it. So wealth management advisor, wealth managers Dublin, that is their page title tag.
Yeah.
Global wealth is Dublin, Ireland, financial advisor, global wealth. This next one is private wealth management, the Irish Times. So you get to choose what this says, and it is incredibly, incredibly important. If you have a 20 over 10 website, I'm going to show you now exactly where you can edit this. And if you're not sure, again, we have a team of SEO experts in-house, just like Marc worked with our team. It is an additional one-time package, but we will go in and do all this stuff for you. So you don't have to figure it out yourself. So you come to any of your page and you hover over the little icon here. And when you click it, you're going to see browser page title. It's easy as that. And that's where you will go in and put it. Now you see here, sometimes you separate it with commas. Sometimes you use the little straight line. Again, that's not going to make a difference in how Google ranks it. It's just what it's going to look like when it's displayed. So some people use like a dash, some people use a semicolon, some people use a comma, but go in, Google your website right now. A lot of you are going to see it's going to say home Russell Wealth, right? Home doesn't do anything to tell Google what your site is all about. This is your chance to tell Google what your site is all about. So you really, really want to be specific. Now, remember too, I said every page of your website should have a unique title tag, right? So all of the pages that are listed here should have a separate title tag. So for the page name, the URL slug here, you can put different title different keywords in for each page. So keep that in mind as well. So hopefully,
can I just say on that package, I mean, like for what we paid compared to where we're ranking and the inquiries we get, I mean, it's not even worth thinking about not paying for that kind of assistance when you're building a website. It's like buying a really nice car like a Ferrari or something, and then insisting on driving it in first gear with the handbrake on. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? That you've got all this trouble of getting a new website, and then you scrimp on $300 to not going somebody to go and do that. The method, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Really doesn't. So, and it makes such a difference to us. I mean, we've added probably $20 million in AUM in the last 6 months, right? So, it's a drop in the ocean to think about these things. So just when you're thinking about these optional extras, they're not really optional extras in my book. Just pay the extra money.
I appreciate that. And somebody did ask a good question for title tag. What's a good keyword to use? So again, if we just go backwards here, we say primary keyword, secondary keyword. So the primary keyword is going to be what is the main thing you want to rank for that you can have a little bit more competition, right? Ranking for the word financial advisor on Google for the entire world is pretty hard. You're not going to get on the first page. So that should not be your first keyword. The first one might be maybe you're not location based. So the location is usually the most popular because for most of you are in a specific location, and a lot of consumers still look for advisors that way. But if you're not location based, maybe you are a very specific niche, right? Financial planning for Amazon employees. Like that is a keyword that's super specific that could go first. So, but instead of saying financial planning for Amazon employees, I would put Amazon employee financial advice or financial planning, and then the name of your company after that. So the order that you put them, putting Amazon first before financial is important. So that's the way that you should pick. So hopefully that's helpful. Amanda dropped into the chat a blog post we have about these different types of keywords and how to use them on your site. So definitely take a look at that. And then I just real quick, before we move on and get some more intel from you, Mark, wanted to touch on meta description. So this is the third most important factor that you want to consider. And really what it is it's the ad copy for whether or somebody clicks on your site or not. So again, if we go back to my search here, right? You can see Mark has independent, impartial wealth management and financial advice, fee-based, professional financial planning, consultancy services, commission-free, unbiased. So he's putting in all these keywords that people are going to want to know about the business. This next one, the use of technology such as cookies allows the Irish Times to operate and improve the functionality of our website. That is not a good meta description. I'm sure whoever is monitoring the Irish Times doesn't even realize that this is what's coming up. Now, one thing to remember, this gray text underneath your page does not directly impact how well Google will rank you per se, but what it does impact is your click-through rate, okay? So how many times are you shown in the results and how many people click you? If Google shows this 100 times, and of those 100 times, 0 people click on it, the next 100 times, they're probably going to show it even less, right? So they're going to say this was not a good result for this search query because enough people are not clicking on it. So you want to use this meta description to entice more people to click. And so make it as enticing there as possible, right? You don't want it to say the use of technology such as cookies.
You'd want that to say win a car or something.
So then in the 20 over 10 platform, you come into your page settings. And if you scroll down a little bit right here is where you would put that SEO description. So super easy. And again, if you're not using 20 over 10, all of these rules still apply. You just need to contact your web developer and either tell them what you want them to put there or work with them to get it done. But just wanted to show you how easy it is to change these, because sometimes we want to test out different ones, right? Maybe we have one meta description for 6 months and then we change it and we see, does it impact our click-through rate at all? Now, some of you are also asking about where to find this data. So I wanted to actually pull up Mark's Google Search Console. This is a free tool that every single website owner has access to. Now, Mark, is this something you've ever actually, I know we've done it on your behalf. Have you ever dove into this data?
Yeah, I have it open. I have a number of these dashboards open that I tend to look at every day. And especially if I've put new content on the website, I go and have a look and see how it's performing. And exactly as you say, if it's not performing well, then I go back and think about, well, did I write this badly? Is it not being clicked on because I'm putting something in which is putting people off, or is it not answering the question that people are asking? So I'm always thinking about, what is it that I think people are asking? What is it that I can do for them? And how do I get them to engage in this content? So I'm always recycling back to what's the problem that these people have and how can I help them solve it?
Yeah.
And if stuff's not performing, then it can be taken down, it can be changed, it can be edited. But we don't have that much content. We just recycle the same stuff with just different positioning and different packaging.
Which is what it's all about. It's
Yeah.
so super smart. So this is what your Google Search Console will look like once you set it up. We have a blog post that we will link to that tells you all about how to do it. Again, if you're working with us for the SEO package, this is something we take care of and then show you more about it. But basically what you're looking at here at the top of the page, they'll show you the total, all the clicks, all the impressions, the average click-through rate, and your average positioning. And they're always going to defer to the last 3 months. So you can look at that over time. You can export the data to keep track of it. And so to start, again, let's just look at how much does a financial advisor cost, right? So 353 times was Global Wealth's website shown when somebody type that into Google. Now, one quick thing to note, that doesn't mean it was only searched 353 times in the last 3 months. That's not what that means. It means that's how many times Google chose to include their website in the results. So there could be people searching it, and there probably are, where their website is not being shown for various reasons. And Google uses your past search history to determine what to show you in the future. And they've gotten really good at it. So there's times when your site is not going to be shown for various search terms. So of the 353 times it was shown, 31 people clicked on it for an 8.8% click-through rate, which is tremendous. That's really good. And their average position on Google for that is 1.9. Now, juxtapose that with some of the more generic terms at the top, right? So for just the term financial advisor, 6,487 times was their website shown. They got 75 clicks through on that, right? So their click-through rate is much lower. One of the things when you're thinking about, what should I be creating content about, what I suggest you do is scroll through here. And when you see things like this, Irish inheritance tax, for UK resident, right? You can say, 300 people searched for that in the last, 3 months. I should write an even more comprehensive blog post about that particular
Which we did do.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're only 60 kilometers away from the UK, right? So it's not that far away. So there's a lot of people moving between these two countries. So it's an issue.
So these are giving you basically already there. Remember, this isn't what everybody's searching for. That's where we showed you that what people also ask little thing. This is kind of where you get started with your ideation. Like, what am I going to talk about? But once you start writing them and you want to see how are things performing, that's where you then go into Google Search Console and you look at what kind of queries am I showing up for? And how do I maybe tweak, to Mark's point, some of the words I'm using in the titles so that it appears more often. So do you go back to blog posts you've already written and kind of retitle them, repurpose them, republish them based upon what you're seeing people clicking through?
Yeah, so I'll either write another post and I'll do a link from the first post to the second one and see if that drives more traffic across different things. Or what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a digital funnel, which is trying to get people to move down towards, a call to action, which is to make an appointment, right? So there's no good just saying, as we've said, how much does a financial advisor cost? Oh, I can't afford one. And then they're gone. You want to engage people on that discussion of, well, how much does a financial advisor cost? Well, not as much as you thought. And actually, we're quite good. Maybe you'd like to make an appointment. That's the journey you want to take them on. Right. So the content you need to provide is, well, what are the questions that people commonly ask? And they're different for different stages in life. So one of the posts we just brought up there a second ago was, should I put money in my pension or should I pay off my loans? Well, that depends on how old you are. It depends on how big your loans are. It depends on what your marginal rate of tax is. What's your disposable income? It depends, right? So that's the job of an advisor. So you need to write the post that sort of says, well, there's a lot to think about here. And some of it's quite technical and maybe you should give us a ring. And that's sort of where you're trying to get to on all of this. And you're trying to take those posts and say, what's performing, what's not performing, what do people really care about? And I even went on and used Google has a thing called Google Trends. And
Mhm.
Google Trends is in your country, what are people typing in? And you can see stuff. It's like, depending on what's happening in the world, or depending on what's happening in politics or whatever it might be, things are trending. And if you look for things like pensions, people don't search for the word pension. They search for the word money, right? So if you haven't got the word money on your website, you're losing half your audience, because people don't put in pensions. We don't think about pensions. We're not that boring, right? Most of us getting on with our lives, and certainly people in their 30s aren't going to be typing in pensions. If they are, there's something wrong with them.
Such a good tip. I love Google Trends. Here it is for those of you who've never done it before. It's a free tool. You can go in and kind of explore around. What should I do with my 401k right now was like trending. It was the highest it ever been searched for back in April of last year, when so many companies were laying people off or getting
Yeah.
rid of the 401k programs. And so people who capitalized, like, what should I do with my 401k right now? Because my company's laying people off because of COVID. We're getting so much traffic from things like that. All right. So we got two more things we want to make sure you all know about, two tactics you can use. The first one is Google My Business. So let me just show you this quickly. If you have not claimed your business on Google My Business, you are missing out. And right now, for all of you based in the US, which is where predominantly most of you are, the SEC ad rule that went into effect on May 4th, which is going to revolutionize advisor marketing because of testimonials and endorsements. Any kind of management of your Google reviews is going to happen through Google My Business. So you have to claim, set up, and optimize your account. And somebody asked the question in the question box, do Google reviews positively, negatively, or not impact SEO at all? They positively are correlated. So for local search, if your business has reviews, has more reviews and more positive reviews, Google says this is a legitimate company. Other people have been to, had a good experience. So we're going to show that business more often. So getting Google reviews and good reviews is going to positively impact your search engine ranking. So Amanda, I know, is going to share a link on how to do that, but I just wanted to make sure I touched on that. And then the last thing, I already showed you this, but if you haven't done it already, sign up and use Google Search Console so that you can start monitoring all of those keywords to make decisions about future content that you're going to provide. I'm going to get through some of the questions for you, Mark, and for us. But I also want to put this information up here. This is how you can get in touch with us if you have questions about SEO, about your account, about what we talked about today, if you want to hear more about our SEO package. But let's take a minute and go through some of these questions that people have specific to SEO. And while I'm looking through all the questions, Mark, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add with that you really felt was like a game changer, or just something you do consistently that, you found really, really is helpful.
Yeah, and I think the main one I would say is you've highlighted is that consistent content, right? So you need to be prolific. So you need to really get inside the head of the clients you're trying to attract. List all of the concerns that they have. Do focus groups, ask your clients, survey your clients. I mean, do this until you're bored asking the same questions, and find out the top 3, 4, 5 things that are common to your target market, and then write out 4 or 5 bullet points that really address those key problems, and then use those 4 or 5 bullet points to then create content. So the thing here is you're always saying the same 3 or 4 things, but you're finding more creative ways of doing it. And I always use the example of this is like, a sermon in a church or whatever, where you've got this every Sunday, you've got to come out with some material, and you've got to kind of try and make this in some way link back to something that's relevant to your audience, right? So you've got to find a narrative, and all you've got to do is just think while you're watching TV or talking to somebody. And we were looking there on Google Trends, you've got to think about Juneteenth, you've got to think about Obama, you've got to think about Biden, you've got to think about what's happening in the news, and somehow find a way to say, that's going to have an impact on my clients because, and then what's going to be the issue? Because then you're making it topical and it's making it relevant, and there's a narrative that you can take and people love stories, right? People love storytelling. So you're taking them on a journey that says, I was watching the news last night and this came on, and I think that's going to have a dramatic impact for people that, our clients, because, and all you're saying is what are the 3 points to address the 3 common concerns, but you're finding a topical way of making it into an interesting story. And you keep pouring that out, people will be interested in reading it.
It's such a good point. We found, FMG found this year that emails that were sent that had a subject line that was somehow related to current events got 5 times the open rate, right? So if you have an article all about emergency preparedness and you've had it forever and what kind of insurance you should have, but then there's a wildfire in California and you send an email to your clients in California, you can send them the same blog post you've always had, but in the subject line, say something like about the wildfires in California and emergency preparedness, you're going to get so much more of a response because of the way you're positioning it. So it's such a good tip, such a good tip. All right. Amanda's doing an amazing job answering questions that people are asking in the Q&A. So she's asked or answered almost all of them, which I know that some of you would like to hear them again live, but since we're running out of time, a couple questions that didn't get answered yet were more about, like, again, the SEO package that we offer. So again, it is a $1,200 one-time fee that, you do need to have a 20/10 website. I need to be clear about that to have us work on your search engine optimization. And that's mostly because a lot of the tools we're using that our team knows how to use are built into our own product, but certainly all the same things we're teaching here would apply no matter what website provider you're using. So again, go back and ask your provider about that. And then the other question that's really great, 20/10 FMG provide content that is pre-written for you to use on your website. Does that hurt your SEO? It's a great question. It doesn't hurt it, but it doesn't help it to just constantly reuse content that's already published. I should say this. It helps it in the sense that Google sees it was updated more recently than not, but it's not going to help with the way writing a completely from scratch piece of your own will help it. So a lot of the pieces you saw that we highlighted that Global Wealth has on their website, Mark and his team have written. Now, one of the reasons we made our Content Assist product editable is for this reason. So you can take any piece of content in the library and customize it. So you can add in a video of yourself talking about it. You can change out paragraphs. You can add in something that's happening in the local news, make it your own, and then it really, really will improve your SEO. So I always say it's a lot easier to start with pre-written an article and edit than a blank slate, and that's what we're giving you.
And the other thing is I'd always say play to your strengths. I mean, if you're a financial advisor, you're a financial advisor, right? You're not a journalist. You're not there writing copy. You're probably not even good at grammar if you're like me, right? So a friend of mine in the States was an Emmy award-winning producer for ABC, right? Who am I going to talk to about copy, me or her? It's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? I don't have an Emmy. So I want to know, who do I need to employ? I need to employ somebody to ghostwrite this for me, and that's the right answer for most financial advisors. And again, it's a cost. You think, well, I'm going to have to pay somebody to do it. No, you're not. It's going to pay for itself.
I love
You're
that.
Going to free up your time.
Ghostwriters are really, really a great strategy. How did you find your ghostwriter? It was just a friend you already knew?
Yeah, I mean, we were approached by a marketing company, and they said, "Listen, do you want us to work with you on this stuff?" And I'm like, "Well, show me, what you do." And they showed examples of some of their work, and we said, "Well, I can't do that. I mean, we're working through a branding process at the moment. We've got a brand consultancy. The brand work is fantastic. I couldn't do that, So I'm thinking, like, play to your strengths, right? They don't know what we know about financial planning. We don't know what they know about marketing and branding. I mean, I sound like a stalker, because we were talking to Sam when we were prepping for this. She's just like, "Oh my God, you've read all that stuff." I'm like, "Well, of course you put it out there. You're prolific. Why wouldn't we read it? It's the best content that's out there globally, genuinely."
But I do think that's a great point. Even after there is an expense associated with all this stuff, but it will pay for itself so much faster than you realize. So, all right. I know we're up on time. I cannot thank you enough it's the end of your day. You stayed in office mode to be here. And I know so many people are saying thank you, and they found this really helpful. If you found it helpful, tell us in the chat so we know, or if there's one specific section you found really useful so that we can prepare content that is helpful in the future. If there's something we didn't cover that you were wishing, let us know. Maybe we can do that in a future session. And Marc, we can't thank you enough for being here and all of the time you spent, letting us walk through specifically what's worked well for you. I think everybody here learned at least a few really golden nuggets today.
Good. I'm glad to help, and I'm always happy to try and make a pilgrimage back to Happy Valley at some point. I keep threatening to do it. So if I can get a we are, spent a year at Penn State. So
you are always welcome. We would love to have you. That would be so fun. All right. Well, have a great rest of the week, everyone. Take care.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.